ladies, this is Catherine DeBray with www.artbykd.com. That's ARTBYKD, my initials. Today we're going to talk about how to swatch your paint colors for your walls, your ceilings, your trim. I'm going to give you a step-by-step process to assure that you're truly seeing the colors that you're swatching, and teach you how to see them and what's the best size and so forth. The first consideration you have is the size of your swatch. You want your swatch to be a minimum of 2 feet by 2 feet. Sometimes, depending on the room, you might want your swatch to be as big as 4 feet by 4 or up to 8 feet wide. The second consideration is the location of the swatch. Now, you're going to want to put it in multiple locations in the room so you can see it in different lights, and you're going to want to look at it different times a day. Now, when you put your swatch up at the ceiling line, so right at the very top of the ceiling without leaving any of the old color space there, you're going to want to bring your swatch down to about here and also wrap it around a corner. And then you're also going to want to put a swatch somewhere in the middle of the wall, which is generally going to be the lightest you're going to see the color. So you want to place your swatch up at the ceiling line or way down at the floor. That's the darkest the color will look in the room. And then you want to place your swatch in the middle of the room so you can see the lightest that the color will be. And you definitely want to wrap your swatch around a corner. This is something most people don't think of. So in this case, I would wrap it around here or around here. Ideally, if you've got a 90-degree angle, you want to do that. This allows you to see how the color reflects on itself, and it will show you the true color intensity. For example, if you're using like a light pastel, let's say a light blue, a lot of times if you just look at a little swatch of it or a swatch right here, you'll think, well, that's a really soft light blue. I think I'm going to use that. But then once you've got it all around the room and it's reflecting on itself on every corner, it might be a whole shade darker. It might look a whole shade darker once it's all around, once it's glowing and reflecting on itself. And not a lot of people realize that. So the next thing you want to consider when you're doing multiple color swatches is you want to overlap the edges of the swatch. You don't want to put a swatch here and then leave a little space and then do a swatch here, because each of those little spaces in between totally affects how the color is looking. So you either want to put your swatches overlapping edge to edge, or if you want to see each color separately, you'll want to leave at least a foot of space between a swatch. So you want to put a swatch here, and then you want to put a big swatch up here. Another alternate option to putting swatches on your wall is to paint them on 2 pieces of foam core or 2 pieces of cardboard, 2 pieces of wood, again at least 2 foot by 2 foot, bigger if you've got it. And then you can take the 2 pieces and you can put them together around a corner to see how they're reflecting on itself, to see how the color reflects on itself, and then you can raise the swatch up or down the wall to check the shadow from the ceiling and to check the lightest point in the middle. Another point about color swatches is it's very important how you look at them. And this is where the largeness of the swatch comes in. You want to look at the center of the swatch. You don't want to be looking at the edges, because whatever color is next to the color along the edge, the 2 colors together create like a vibration. And so your edge of your swatch, you're not really seeing the true color. So you want to look in the center of it. You can be helpful to look through your hands like this and block out the edge and all the surrounding colors. You can also take a piece of paper and cut out a little square and look through that if that helps you to block it out. Now, another thing about swatches that people generally don't realize is when you're looking at a swatch, even if it's like 3 by 3 feet, the swatch by itself on the wall, surrounded by another of the existing color or by primer or something, will look about a half shade darker than once the paint is actually spread around the whole room or spread across one entire wall. As a little swatch, the paint looks about a half shade darker than it actually will. So particularly if you're swatching out dark colors, you really need to take that into consideration because you can mislead yourself. And if you're having trouble deciding between two colors, if you've got it like, you've swatched out 4 and you can't decide between 2, then one thing I like to do is take the time to paint like take a large wall and paint one half all the way to all the edges of one color, and then the other half all the way to all the edges of the other color, so you get 2 really big fields of the 2 colors, and you can really stand back and look at them and see, is this the color that I'm really looking for? And if you're looking at a really intense color, don't forget that unless your room is empty, that's not how you're really going to see it. Any wall color, you're going to be looking at it with your furniture, your drapes, any plants, whatever's on your floor. All those other colors will help soften it. So if you're trying out an intense color, let's say a red wall, and you see just the plain red wall and it freaks you out, don't be freaked out, because you have to remember the context. There's going to be lots of other stuff in the room that will soften up that color. And finally, if you're under construction and you're looking at paint colors against a concrete subfloor or just against prime drywall, you want to remember that those 2 surfaces really suck a lot of life out of a paint color. So you need to make your swatches even bigger. And if you're working with the concrete subfloor, you want to put samples of your flooring material up against the wall and bring your swatches down to the bottom. And if you don't have that, I advise laying like a painting drop cloth or even a piece of plywood down against the wall just to get rid of that gray, because the gray and the texture in the concrete will really just take the life right out of the color, especially a warm color like a gold or a yellow, an orange, and some browns. It can just really make the color look terrible, and it's really just the effect of the concrete floor, not that you wouldn't like that color. So that's it with color. Your circumstances, in other words, what the color's next to, and the relationships of all the different colors in the room are everything. So I hope this helps you out. This is just some of the information that you might need to know in picking your colors. And if you'd like to schedule a color consultation, just give me a call, 805-570-8256, or you can contact me at my website, www.artbykd.com. Thanks for listening.